The stars looked cold and silent in the endless black. The UHS Valiant drifted through the dark sea of space, her engines quiet, her lights dimmed. To anyone watching from far away, the human ship looked alone, small and easy prey. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge, hands behind her back, watching the sensor feed. Her crew worked quietly, eyes focused, tension heavy in the air. They knew what was coming. The scanner showed faint distortions. Something moving in the dark, something big. "Multiple signatures, Captain," said Lieutenant Hale, his voice low. "They're closing in from all sides." Mara didn't flinch. "How many?" "8. Maybe 9 ships," Hale said. "They're using stealth screens." "I'd bet they're Carthid raiders." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. The Carthid Empire, brutal slavers, scavengers, and pirates, were known for hunting weaker ships. They believed humans were soft, untested, and foolishly brave. They'd learned a few lessons from earlier fights, but clearly not enough. Mara gave a small smile. "Good. Let them think we're weak." The Valiant was no ordinary freighter. Beneath her dull gray armor hid weapon pods, automated turrets, and a jump core capable of tearing a small moon apart if it overloaded. This ship was bait, part of the United Human Fleet's new strategy, a trap disguised as helpless prey. The first Carthid ship appeared on the main screen, a long, jagged vessel with glowing crimson engines. Its weapons came online. Then another ship appeared, and another, surrounding the Valiant like wolves around a wounded animal. A deep voice came through the comms, thick with arrogance. "Human vessel, this is Captain Dracar of the Carthid Empire. Power down your engines. Prepare to be boarded. Do not resist and your deaths will be quick." The crew exchanged tense glances. Mara said nothing at first. She walked slowly to her command chair, calm as a winter lake. "Open channel," she said softly. Hale nodded. "Channel open." "This is Captain Mara Voss, United Human Fleet," she said, her voice cold and steady. "You are trespassing in human space. You have one chance to leave." A burst of laughter filled the bridge, sharp and mocking. Dracar's reply was full of contempt. "You humans are amusing. You think your little ships frighten us? You think your soft flesh and weak steel matter?" Mara tilted her head slightly. "No," she said. "But what's inside our ships might." There was a pause. The alien captain seemed confused. "What are you talking about, human?" Mara gave a small, almost kind smile. "You'll see." The Carthid fleet began to move closer, their weapons ready. The first plasma shot tore across the void, smashing into the Valiant's shield. The bridge shook. Lights flickered. Another shot followed, then another. The crew held steady. "Shields at 60%, Hale reported. "Hold fire," Mara said. "Wait for it." The enemy ships were closing fast, forming a tight circle. The Carthid always liked to toy with their victims, disable, then board, then gloat. They didn't know they were already inside the trap. "Captain," said Commander Rios, the tactical officer, "they're within range." Mara's eyes hardened. "Good, drop the mask. Show them who we are." In a single moment, the Valiant came alive. Hidden armor plates slid open, revealing railgun barrels and missile pods. Energy surged through the ship's systems. Power readings spiked across the board. Fire. The Valiant's first salvo was blinding. Hypervelocity rounds tore through the nearest Carthid cruiser, punching holes straight through its hull. Missiles streaked outward, splitting into smaller warheads mid-flight. The dark space around them erupted in fire. The enemy fleet reeled in shock. The Carthid ships tried to scatter, but it was too late. The Valiant's turrets tracked them with precision, cutting through shields and armor alike. One ship exploded into bright blue fragments, another broke apart under a railgun burst. "3 down," Rios called. "2 more crippled," Dracar's voice returned, this time full of rage. "You will pay for this, human scum." Mara didn't reply. Her ship moved forward, engines roaring. The Valiant cut through the battlefield like a predator. Debris drifted past the windows. Enemy fire lanced toward them, but the shields held. The Carthid tried to regroup, forming a defensive wall. But humans had learned how they thought. The Valiant fired a pulse charge, a burst of electromagnetic energy that blinded their sensors and silenced their weapons. Then the railgun spoke again. The last few enemy ships tried to flee. Mara's expression didn't change. "Target their engines," Moments later, the black of space filled with burning wrecks. One by one, the Carthage vessels vanished into fire and silence. When it was over, the Valiant floated among the wreckage. The stars returned, quiet and cold. "Report," Mara said. "All enemy ships destroyed," Hale said, almost in disbelief. "No survivors detected." The bridge was silent. Only the hum of the engines filled the air. Mara looked out at the wreckage. 9 ships gone in less than 5 minutes. The Carthage had come expecting surrender. They found annihilation instead. She gave a short nod. "Good work, everyone. Send the recording to command. Let them see." As her crew worked, she stood in the quiet glow of the bridge, eyes on the dark beyond. More would come, she knew. The Carthage would not take this defeat lightly. But for now, humanity had sent a message. They were not prey anymore. The news spread across the Carthage Empire like fire in dry grass. 9 ships gone, entire crews erased, destroyed by a single human vessel. At first, no one believed it. But the data was real. Black box recordings, sensor echoes, and final transmissions that ended in screams and static. Inside the war hall of the Carthage capital ship Bloodfang, Captain Drakar's name burned red on the wall of the dead. The warriors gathered, eyes glowing in fury beneath the cold light of the chamber. At the center stood High Warlord Kreth Thar, his armor black and carved with scars of 100 battles. His voice was deep, rumbling like thunder. "Humans," he growled, "insulted the honor of the Empire. They destroyed our kin, our ships, our name." Around him, dozens of captains growled in agreement. Fists slammed against tables. "They tricked us," one hissed. "They used a false signal, a trap," another shouted. Kreth raised a clawed hand. The noise stopped. "Excuses," he said. "They killed us because we grew lazy, because we thought them weak." His eyes burned bright red. "That ends now." He turned toward the tactical display, a hologram of human territory glowing blue against the dark. "They are spreading fast," he said. "Colonies in 15 systems, trade routes, outposts. They believe themselves safe behind new fleets and false peace." He pointed a claw at the hologram. "Burn it." The captains bowed their heads in agreement. But one voice spoke out. A younger commander, smaller than the others but sharp-eyed. "High Warlord," she said carefully. "Humans learn quickly. They adapt faster than any race we've fought. If we rush in..." Kreth's gaze cut her off like a blade. "You doubt the Empire's strength?" The room froze. Even the air seemed to tighten. The young commander bowed her head. "No, Warlord. But I do not underestimate prey that bites back." Kreth stared at her for a long moment, then gave a low, cold laugh. "Good," he said. "Then you will lead the vanguard. See what more these humans can do before we crush them." The room stirred with approval. The commander's name was Tirak Val, known for her precision and ruthless calm. She accepted the order with a silent nod, though her mind was already turning. She had seen the battle footage. The humans had used clever tactics, false power readings, delayed counterfire, synchronized AI defense grids. No savage luck, no desperate fluke. It was skill. She left the war hall knowing one truth: this would not be an easy war. On the human side, the victory spread like wildfire through the fleet. The Valiant's triumph became a rallying story across human space. Broadcasts called it the 5-minute war, a symbol that humanity was no longer a target, but a threat. In the orbital shipyard above New Avalon, Captain Mara Voss stood before the newly completed UHS Resolute, a larger, faster, deadlier ship built from the lessons of battle. Her crew had been given upgrades, new weapons, and a mission. Admiral Jonas appeared on the holo screen, his weathered face stern but proud. "You made quite the impression, Captain," he said. "I did my job," Mara replied. "You did more than that. You gave the Empire a wound it won't forget." Mara folded her arms. "Then they'll be coming for revenge." Jonas nodded. "Yes, and when they do, we'll be ready." He leaned closer, voice lowering. "We've been gathering intel. The Carthage are moving. Large-scale mobilization. Scout fleets disappearing near the border. They're planning something. How big?" Mara asked. "Big enough to burn whole systems," he said grimly. "We can't face them head-on, not yet. But we can make them bleed for every step." Mara's eyes hardened. "Then we make them pay." That night, aboard the Resolute, Mara walked the observation deck alone. The stars glittered like shards of ice. Below her, the blue world of New Avalon turned slowly in silence. She remembered the faces of her fallen crew from past battles, the cost of survival. Humanity had always been underestimated, by the Carthid, by others, even by themselves. But not anymore. Footsteps approached. Commander Rios joined her, hands clasped behind his back. "Fleet Command sent the new orders," he said. "We're being reassigned." "Where?" she asked. "To the edge," he said. "Sector 9, the frontier worlds." Mara looked at him sharply. "That's where the Carthid are building their new shipyards." Rios nodded. "Exactly. We're going hunting." Rios nodded. "Exactly. We're going hunting." A slow smile crossed Mara's face. "Then let's make sure they remember the name of every world they touch." Far away, deep in the black void between stars, the Carthid fleet assembled. Hundreds of ships, their hulls like jagged teeth, engines glowing blood red. At the center, Warlord Kreth's flagship loomed larger than any before it, a monster forged for war. "Signal all commands," Kreth roared. "Set course for the human border." As the fleet turned toward human space, Tirak Val watched from her bridge. Her instincts whispered danger. The humans had fire, cunning, and something the Empire never understood: unity. Still, she prepared her fleet. If the humans wanted a fight, they would get one. In the dark of space, two forces began to move, one driven by vengeance, the other by survival. Between them stretched a thin line of stars, soon to be drowned in fire, and as the Resolute left New Avalon, Captain Mara Voss whispered into the empty void, "Come and get us." The first attack came at dawn, if such a word could mean anything in space. The human colony of Erebus 9 orbited a red dwarf star at the edge of known space. It was small, peaceful, mostly miners and engineers. No one there expected war to reach them, until the sky filled with fire. Carthid warships tore out of the dark like wolves, their plasma cannons lighting the thin atmosphere. The colony's defense drones tried to respond, but were shredded in seconds. Buildings burned. Communications fell silent. Within an hour, Erebus 9 was gone. The Carthid Empire had arrived. From orbit above New Avalon, the human fleet received the signal too late. The images were brief, flashes of explosions, then static. Captain Mara Voss stood at the tactical display aboard the Resolute, jaw tight. "How many survivors?" she asked. Lieutenant Hale's face was pale. "Unknown. Possibly none." Silence filled the bridge. Every crew member knew what that meant. The Carthid weren't taking prisoners anymore. This was no raid. It was extermination. Admiral Jonas appeared on the holoscreen again, his tone grim. "It's begun," he said. "They're hitting the border colonies. Fast strikes. No warning, no mercy." Mara's eyes narrowed. "How many systems lost?" "3 confirmed," Jonas replied. "More going dark every hour." "They're testing us, probing for weakness." Mara turned to her officers. "Then let's show them we don't have any." 3 days later, the Resolute entered the Erebus sector. Wreckage floated everywhere. Ships, stations, broken satellites. The entire colony was ash and silence. "Radiation levels are high," Rios said quietly. "No life signs detected. Record everything," Mara ordered. "Command will want to see this." As they scanned the debris, something caught Hale's attention. "Captain, I'm picking up something. Faint signal on an old military frequency. Source? Unknown. It's bouncing off the debris. Could be automated. Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled. A distorted voice whispered through the static. "They came from nowhere. Not Carthid. Not human. They—" Then silence. The crew stared at one another. "What was that?" Rios asked. Hale shook his head. "Not sure. It wasn't a colony transmission. It came from deep space, behind the system's outer belt." Mara frowned. "Plot the coordinates." "Let's take a look." As the Resolute approached the edge of the system, the sensors picked up something massive, buried inside a cloud of asteroids. At first it looked like wreckage, but as they drew closer, the shape became clearer. It wasn't Carthid. It wasn't human. It was ancient. The hull was black, covered in strange geometric lines that glowed faintly like veins of light. It was easily 10 times the size of a battleship, yet completely silent. No power readings, no movement. "Is that a ship?" Hale asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Looks more like a tomb," Rios muttered. Mara's eyes narrowed. "Scan it. Everything." Hale's hands danced across the console. "Energy traces are minimal. But I'm detecting a strange radiation pattern. It's old, older than any known civilization." Before Mara could respond, a proximity alarm screamed. "Multiple warp signatures," Rios shouted. "Carthage fleet 6 ships inbound." "Of course," Mara muttered. They followed us. The Carthage ships dropped out of warp in formation, their hulls gleaming red under the light of the dying sun. The lead vessel sent a signal. "Captain Tirak Val's insignia." Mara's jaw tightened. So they finally sent their best. The comms opened, and Tirak's voice filled the bridge, calm, sharp, and almost curious. "Captain Mara Voss, the human who destroyed Drakar's fleet. You fight well, for prey." Mara kept her tone cold. "And you talk too much." Tirak gave a quiet laugh. "We are not here to talk. We came for the relic behind you. It belongs to the Empire." Mara glanced at the display, the ancient ship glowing faintly in the dark. "You can't even begin to understand what that thing is." "Perhaps not," Tirak said. "But the Empire will learn. After you're gone, the transmission cut." Mara turned to her crew. "Target locks?" "All ready, Captain," Rios said. "Good," she said softly. "Then let's give them another surprise." The battle began in a storm of light. Railguns fired, missiles screamed, and beams of energy carved across the black void. The Resolute moved like a predator, weaving between incoming fire, striking fast and hard. 2 Carthage ships exploded in the first minute, but the rest adapted quickly. Tirak's ships were disciplined, coordinated, nothing like Drakar's reckless ambushers. Their formation tightened, driving the Resolute back toward the asteroid belt. "We're boxed in," Hale shouted. "Then we fight our way out," Mara said. A plasma barrage hit the Resolute's flank. Alarms blared. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The ship shuddered under the impact. "Shields at 40%. Mara gritted her teeth. "Rios, focus fire on their lead ship." "I want that one gone!" The Resolute turned sharply, engines roaring. All forward batteries fired at once. The lead Carthage ship took the hit dead center, its shields flared, then collapsed. Fire burst from its hull, but before anyone could celebrate, something happened. The ancient ship behind them began to glow, softly at first, then brighter. The geometric lines pulsed with light, and a low hum filled the void. "Captain," Hale said slowly. "The artifact. It's activating." The Carthage ships hesitated. Even Tirak's voice broke through the comms, uncertain. "What is this, human? What have you done?" Mara stared at the ancient vessel, her heart pounding. "I didn't do anything." A blinding wave of energy rippled outward. All ships, human and Carthage alike, were thrown back. Systems flickered. Sensors went dark. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. When the power returned, the ancient ship was gone. Just gone. The Resolute drifted in the debris field, engines flickering. The surviving Carthage ships turned and fled without another word. Rios stared at the empty space where the artifact had been. "Captain, what was that?" Mara looked out into the dark, voice quiet. "Something old," she said, "something that just woke up." 3 days after the battle at Erebus, the UHS Resolute limped into orbit above Helios Station, the largest human military base on the frontier. Engineers swarmed over its damaged hull, sparks flashing against the black of space. Inside, the crew moved like ghosts, tired, bruised, silent. Captain Mara Voss sat in the debriefing room with Admiral Jonas. The lights were dim, and the air felt heavy with worry. "You're telling me the ship just vanished?" Jonas said slowly. Mara nodded. "Yes, sir." One moment it was there, dead and silent. The next, it released an energy wave that knocked out everything within range. Then it was gone. Jonas frowned. "Our scientists are calling it a null-phase displacement. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't using normal warp physics. It simply stepped out of reality." He rubbed his temples. And you said the Carthids saw it too? They were closer than we were, Mara replied. They ran as soon as the energy wave hit. Jonas leaned forward. We intercepted their communications. They're terrified, Captain. The Empire's leadership believes the artifact was a weapon, a lost creation from a civilization older than both our races. Mara exhaled slowly. Then the question is, where did it go? Jonas looked at her grimly. That's exactly what we're going to find out. Meanwhile, deep within Carthid space, Commander Tirak Val stood before the High Warlord. The Great Hall was dark, lit only by the glow of molten veins running through the metal walls. The air smelled of ozone and fury. Kreth Thar slammed a clawed fist against the table. You ran, Tirak kept her posture straight. I withdrew when the anomaly activated. If I had stayed, my fleet would be dead. You would have no report, no data. The Warlord's eyes narrowed. Excuses. The Warlord's eyes narrowed. Excuses. It was not human trickery, she said sharply. That thing was not made by either of us. Kreth leaned forward, his face twisted with anger and greed. Then we will claim it before they do. If the humans can awaken such a power, they will use it against us. Find it, Commander. I don't care what it takes. Tirak bowed her head. As you command. But in her mind, doubts grew like shadows. She had seen the light that swallowed the ships. It wasn't just power, it was alive. It had felt like something ancient was watching them, judging both sides. She left the war hall in silence, already planning to track the energy trail. She would find the truth, even if it meant disobeying the warlord himself. The energy trail. She would find the truth, even if it meant disobeying the warlord himself. Back aboard the Resolute, repairs were nearly complete. The ship now carried upgraded sensors, tuned to detect the strange radiation left by the artifact. Mara stood on the bridge with Rios and Hale as the system warmed up. Power levels stable, Hale said. New scanners online. Begin the sweep, Mara ordered, the display filled with swirling light as the computer mapped the nearby sectors. For several minutes, nothing appeared. Then a faint reading flickered on the edge of the grid. There, Hale said, pointing. Sector Theta 22. Faint residual signature. Same pattern as the Erebus artifact. How far? Rios asked. 3 days by jump, Mara nodded. Set course. 3 days later, the Resolute emerged into the Theta sector. Empty space, cold and silent. A dead moon circled a dying star. The energy readings were weak but present. They sent out drones first. The small probes scanned the surface of the moon and found ruins, massive half-buried structures, built from the same black metal as the vanished ship. When the Resolute's landing team touched down, they walked through long halls carved with strange symbols. The air was thin and cold. Every surface seemed to hum faintly, as if remembering life. This place is ancient, Rios whispered. Older than recorded history, Mara touched one of the walls. It pulsed faintly under her hand like a heartbeat. This wasn't just a shipyard, she said. It's a grave. Suddenly the ground trembled. A low sound filled the chamber, a deep, distant pulse like something waking up. Captain? Hale's voice came through the comms from orbit, panicked. We're picking up a surge of energy, same pattern as before. It's coming from beneath you. Before Mara could respond, the floor split open. A column of blue light shot upward, blinding them. When it faded, something massive stood before them, another of the black ships, half buried, its hull alive with glowing lines. Get us out of here, Mara shouted. The team ran for the surface, dust and light swirling around them. The ship's engines roared as the Resolute's shuttle pulled them aboard, just as the ruins below began to collapse. Back in orbit, the black ship rose from the moon's surface, silent, unstoppable. It hung in space for a moment, then turned toward them. Captain, Hale said, voice trembling. It's scanning us. Mara stared at the screen. Open a channel. Static filled the air, then a voice spoke, calm and alien. We remember you. Mara froze. What are you? The voice replied, soft but echoing like thunder. We are the architects. The first builders. The keepers of balance. Rios whispered. Architects? From the old myths? But the voice continued. Your kind broke the silence. You woke what should sleep. Now the test begins. The transmission cut. The black ship vanished again, faster than light, without any warp trace. Silence filled the bridge. Did we just make contact? Hale asked quietly. Mara's eyes were cold. No, she said. We just made enemies. Far across space, Commander Tirak Val received the same echo, faint, distorted, but real. Her ships trembled as the signal passed through them. The ancient voice repeated the same words in her language. We remember you. Tirak closed her eyes. Something greater than war had begun. The message spread across every corner of human and Carthid space. 3 words, repeated endlessly on every frequency, every channel, every ship. We remember you. At first, no one knew what it meant. Scientists argued. Soldiers prepared. Civilians panicked. Some thought it was a threat, others a warning. But to Captain Mara Voss, it felt like a promise, and promises from ancient powers rarely ended well. The UHS Resolute was now under strict orders to stay hidden. It drifted in the shadow of a dead asteroid, its systems low, its crew tense. Every hour, more strange signals appeared across the frontier. Entire fleets vanishing, communications breaking down, ships reporting encounters with black vessels that appeared and disappeared without trace. Admiral Jonas appeared on the holoscreen, his face drawn and tired. We've lost contact with 7 colonies, he said quietly. No distress calls. Just silence. Mara frowned. Any sign of Carthid movement? Jonas shook his head. They're losing ships too. Whatever these architects are, they're not choosing sides. So they're attacking everyone, Rios said bitterly. No, Mara said softly. They're testing everyone. Jonas nodded slowly. Command agrees. Whatever they are, they seem to appear where conflict is worst. It's like they're watching? Judging. He paused, then added, We've intercepted a Carthid transmission. You'll want to see this. The screen flickered. A new image appeared. Commander Tirak Val surrounded by smoke and fire. Her voice was hoarse but steady. To the human fleet, this message is not a trick. The architects destroyed 3 of our worlds. They do not speak, they do not reason. They erase. You fight them or you die. Choose quickly. The transmission ended. Mara's crew stared at the silent screen. She's asking for help, Rios said. Mara crossed her arms. The Carthid killed millions of our people. Now they want us to fight beside them? Jonas sighed. We don't have the luxury of hate anymore. If these things keep advancing, there won't be a human or Carthid left to hate. 2 days later, the Resolute arrived at the edge of neutral space, a vast region called the Graveyard, filled with wrecks from centuries of battles. It was here that both sides agreed to meet. When the Carthid fleet appeared, every human ship went to full alert. Dozens of massive vessels loomed in the dark, their weapons ready. The Resolute held position, her guns silent but warm. On the main screen, Tirak Val appeared again. Her eyes were sharp, but there was something different now. Not arrogance, but exhaustion. Captain Voss, she said. I never thought we'd meet like this. Neither did I, Mara replied. You destroyed my fleet, Tirak said. You attacked my colony, Mara shot back. A long silence followed. Then Tirak gave a small nod. Then we're even. They met aboard a neutral station, drifting between their fleets. Both captains entered alone. No guards, no weapons. The air smelled of rust and dust, the echoes of old wars. Mara studied her enemy up close for the first time. Tirak's armor was battered, her face scarred, her eyes full of calculation. She looked more like a soldier than a monster. You believe these architects can be stopped? Mara asked. I believe they must be, Tirak said. Our scans show they're spreading. Every system they visit goes dark. Their ships don't communicate. They simply erase technology, wipe data, strip power from the stars themselves. That sounds like extermination, Mara said. Tirak shook her head. No, it's judgment. They see us as failures, children fighting over scraps of metal. Mara looked out the viewport at the scattered stars. Maybe they're right, Tirak's expression hardened. Then we prove them wrong. Hours later, both captains returned to their fleets. For the first time in history, human and Carthid warships formed a single formation, uneasy allies bound by survival. Engineers shared data. Scientists compared readings. Slowly, a plan formed. Use the combined fleets to trap one of the black ships, study it, and find its weakness. The trap was set in the Nemea system, a dead sector filled with broken moons. The fleets hid behind asteroid clusters, their weapons synchronized. The moment the architects appeared, they would strike. But when the black ship arrived, everything changed. It didn't come alone. Dozens of them appeared, silent, perfect, cold. Their hulls glowed faintly as they spread out like shadows across the void. No heat, no sound, no fear. And then they spoke, a single voice echoing across every ship, in every language. You fight together. Good. The first lesson is learned. Mara froze. They're aware. Tirak's voice came through the shared channel. Lesson? What lesson? The voice continued. You destroy, you hate, you rise, you fall. You repeat the same errors of the ones before you. But you have joined hands in fear. That is new. Are you testing us? Mara demanded. The voice replied. Calm and endless. We test what remains worth saving. Then, without warning, the black ships opened fire. Energy lances ripped through space, faster than light, cutting through shields and armor like paper. Both fleets fired back, but the enemy ships moved like ghosts, vanishing, reappearing, striking from impossible angles. Shields failing, Hale shouted. We can't keep up! Mara gritted her teeth. Keep firing. Focus on the nearest one. The Resolute's railguns hit dead center. For the first time, a black ship faltered, its hull flickering like broken glass. We got one, Rios shouted, but before they could finish it, the ship simply dissolved. It broke apart into light, scattering like dust. Captain, Hale said, staring at his screen. They're adapting. Learning. Mara's hands tightened on the command rail. So are we. Hours later, half the human fleet was gone. A third of the Carthid ships burned in silence. The survivors retreated together into the shadow of a gas giant. The black ships didn't follow. Instead, the voice returned. The test continues. You have chosen unity. Do not waste it. Then, as suddenly as they came, the black ships vanished. On the bridge of the Resolute, smoke drifted through the air. Crew members worked in silence. Rios turned to Mara. We survived. For now, she said. But this isn't over. They're watching, waiting to see what we do next. Rios frowned. And what will we do? Mara looked out at the damaged fleet. Human and Carthid ships, side by side, battered but alive. We'll do what humans always do, she said quietly. We'll learn. We'll fight! And we'll find a way to win. And we'll find a way to win. The battlefield lay silent now. Hundreds of wrecks drifted in the cold dark, human and Carthid alike, broken, smoldering, nameless. The black ships were gone, vanishing without trace, leaving only whispers across the radio waves. For the first time in generations, both sides stood together. Not as enemies, but as survivors. The joint fleet limped into orbit around Erebus Prime, one of the few fortified worlds still under human control. Crews from both species worked side by side, repairing hulls, patching systems, and trading uneasy glances. The air was heavy with tension, and something else. Fear. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge of the UHS Resolute watching the Carthid engineers through the viewport of the docking bay. Their movements were efficient, their language guttural and clipped. Every time one of them passed, her human crew stiffened. Commander Rios joined her. Never thought I'd see the day Carthid hands were helping patch our ship. Mara nodded slowly. They probably said the same about us. Rios gave a quiet laugh. Yeah, strange universe. Before she could reply, the holotable came to life. Admiral Jonas appeared, his uniform stained with soot and fatigue. Across from him, another image flickered. Commander Tirak Val, standing in the dim light of her command deck. Captains, Jonas began, you both fought well. But this war isn't one we can win with guns. Tirak's eyes narrowed. Then what do you suggest? Beg for mercy from ghosts. Jonas shook his head. We find out who they are and why they care. He brought up a hologram. It showed a star map, human and Carthid space outlined in blue and red. At the center, faint lines formed a spiral pattern. These coordinates, he said, come from the energy pulses emitted by the black ships. They all point to a single system, one not marked on any chart. Tirak frowned. A hidden world? Mara studied the map. Or a home, Jonas nodded. We're calling it Origin Point. Whatever the architects are, that's where they began. 2 weeks later, the Resolute and Tirak's flagship Vraxian jumped together into the void between galaxies. The journey was rough. Space itself seemed to twist and flicker, as if reality didn't want them there. When they finally emerged, silence greeted them. No stars, no light, just a black void stretching in all directions. Then slowly, something massive came into view. "Captain," Hale whispered, "I think that's a planet." It was unlike anything they'd ever seen, a dark world made of metal and stone, its surface carved with glowing lines that pulsed like veins. It was alive. Mara felt her chest tighten. "We found it!" They descended cautiously into orbit. The scanners showed enormous structures across the planet's surface, towers miles high, vast rings of energy, and what looked like faces, giant faces carved into the landscape, half buried and weathered by eons. Tirak's voice came over the comms. "My sensors detect breathable air, artificial but stable. They want us to land." "Feels like a trap," Rios muttered. Mara nodded. "Then let's spring it carefully." On the surface, the air shimmered with blue light. The ground was smooth, metallic, and cold. The landing team, half human, half Carthid, walked in silence across the vast plain. No sound, no wind, just the faint hum beneath their boots. Then they found it. A great door set into the ground, engraved with symbols neither side recognized. When Mara touched it, it opened without a sound. Inside lay a chamber filled with light. Floating pillars surrounded a central platform where a glowing crystal pulsed softly. It projected images, memories of a galaxy long gone. Mara stepped closer. The images shifted, showing beings of pure energy building worlds, shaping stars, guiding young civilizations. "The architects," Rios whispered. "They weren't conquerors. They were creators." Tirak's eyes narrowed. Then what changed? The images darkened. The architects turned against one another. War, fire across the stars. Planets burned, species wiped away. At the end, a single phrase echoed through the chamber. They became what they feared. The light faded. Mara's voice was low. "They destroyed themselves." Rios looked at her. "And now they're testing us to see if we'll do the same." Suddenly, the crystal pulsed brighter. A voice filled the room. Calm, ancient, familiar. "You have come far." The walls shimmered. Figures appeared, tall, made of light, faces hidden behind masks of silver. The air vibrated with their presence. Mara stepped forward. "You call yourselves the architects. Why attack us?" "Because you repeat our sins," the voice said. "We gave creation to lesser hands. We taught the stars to speak. But each time, the children learned war, destruction, hate." Tirak bared her fangs. "So you punish us for being alive?" "No," said the voice. "We test if you can change. If you can build without destroying." Mara took a breath. "And if we fail?" The chamber grew colder. "Then you will join us in silence." The light dimmed. The figures vanished. The crystal cracked and fell into dust. Tirak stared at the spot where they'd stood. "They're not gods," she said quietly. "They're afraid. They see us as their mirror." Mara nodded. "And mirrors can break." She turned to her team. "Download everything we can. If this place holds their secrets, we'll use them." Rios looked uneasy. "Captain, that's what they warned us about." Mara gave him a hard look. "They made this mess. We'll finish it our way." As the ships left the planet, Hale reported strange readings. "Captain, the surface is changing. The whole world, it's waking up." Below them, the lines of light flared. Entire continents began to move, shifting like gears in an enormous machine. A blinding wave rose from the planet's core. Mara's eyes widened. "Jump us out, now!" The Resolute and Vraxian escaped just as the world below collapsed into light. When the glow faded, the planet was gone. Only one thing remained on their scanners: a signal. A countdown. The countdown echoed across the stars. Every ship, every station, every planet, human and Carthid alike, received the same message. 7 days remain. No one knew what would happen when it reached 0. Some believed it meant destruction. Others thought it was a test of will. But everyone felt the same thing: fear. On the UHS Resolute, Captain Mara Voss stood at the bridge viewport, staring at the silent sky. The fleet around her looked like ghosts, broken, scattered, but still alive. "Status?" she asked quietly. "Fleet strength down to 30%, Rios said. "No contact from command in 2 days. Power reserves are running low." Hale looked up from his console. "Captain, the countdown's accelerating." "It's not 7 days anymore, it's less than 3. Mara nodded slowly. "Then we're out of time." The comms crackled. Tirak Val's face appeared, her armor dented, eyes fierce. "Voss, my sensors show the signal is coming from a single source. The world we escaped, origin point." Mara frowned. "It was destroyed, was it?" Tirak said. "Look closer." The two fleets jumped together into the void, their engines burning bright against the black. When they arrived, the stars themselves seemed wrong, twisted, bent, as if space was being rewritten. And there it was. The origin world had returned. But it was no longer a planet. It had become something vast and alive, a sphere of light surrounded by mechanical rings, pulsing with the rhythm of a heart. "The countdown's coming from inside that thing," Hale said softly. Tirak's voice cut in. "Then that's where this ends." The combined fleet approached slowly, weapons hot but silent. As they neared the surface, waves of energy washed over them. Systems flickered. Every human felt it, an echo inside their minds. A voice, deep and calm, spoke through the void. "You have learned unity. Now show us purpose." Mara felt her vision blur. Images filled her mind, memories not her own. The architects building galaxies, shaping suns, watching their creations turn on one another again and again. They were gods who made monsters. Now those monsters had names: humanity and Carthid. Mara gritted her teeth. "We're not your children," she whispered. "We're not your mistakes," the voice replied, gentle yet infinite. "Then prove it." The light around the planet flared. And suddenly fleets of black ships appeared, hundreds of them, forming a perfect sphere around the combined forces. Rios stared in disbelief. "They're everywhere. Targeting systems online," Hale said. "They're locking onto us." Mara took a deep breath. "All ships, form up, humans and Carthid, together." For a moment, no one moved. Then Tirak's voice came through every channel, sharp and steady. "You heard her. Form the line. Human and Carthid ships aligned side by side." Engines flared. The void filled with light, fire. The battle was chaos and fire. Explosions bloomed across the black like dying stars. The black ships moved faster than thought. But the united fleet fought as one. Carthid cruisers absorbing hits, human destroyers weaving between them. Railguns and plasma beams cutting through the dark, destroyers weaving between them. Railguns and plasma beams cutting through the dark. Mara's commands were steady, clear. "Target left flank. Focus fire. Keep formation." Tirak's voice echoed across the shared comms. "Hold the line. For every world they took, make them remember us." One by one, the black ships began to fall. But for every one destroyed, 2 more appeared. Hale shouted, "Captain! The signal, it's changing!" On the tactical screen, the countdown hit 0. The black ship stopped moving. Then a new voice spoke. Not mechanical, not cold, but human. "Stop!" Everything froze. Everything froze. The light from the planet gathered into one point. Slowly, a figure formed, glowing, immense, made of shifting energy. Its voice carried across every ship. "You have chosen to stand together, even in fear, even in death. You did what we could not." Mara stepped forward. "Then why test us at all?" "Because creation must earn the right to survive." The figure looked down at her, its form flickering between human and alien shapes. "We were gods once, but we lost our purpose. You, creatures of flesh and chaos, found what we lost. Tirac's voice came through, quiet but steady. And what is that? The light pulsed brighter. Hope. The architect's voice softened, fading like wind through glass. Our time is done. Yours begins. Then, with a sound like thunder and silence combined, the black ships dissolved into light. The great planet cracked apart, releasing a wave of golden energy that swept across space. The wrecks, the fires, the damage all vanished. The stars burned brighter again, and just like that, the architects were gone. The fleet hung in stunned silence. The radio channels filled with quiet sobs, laughter, disbelief. Human and Carthage ships floated together, no longer enemies. Tirac's face appeared on the Resolute's main screen. "They're gone," she said. "Truly gone." Mara nodded slowly. "And they left us a choice, which is to rebuild," Mara said, "or destroy ourselves again." Tirac gave a small, sharp smile. "Then maybe this time we choose better." Days later, the Resolute floated above a quiet blue world. The stars seemed peaceful for once. Mara stood alone on the bridge, watching the light shimmer across her ship's hull. Rios approached quietly. "You think it's really over?" She gave a small smile. "No, but it's a start," he nodded. "And the Carthid?" "They're keeping their word. For now." Mara turned back to the stars. "Maybe the architects were right. Maybe the test never ends," Rios frowned. "So what do we do?" She looked out at the endless dark, where 1,000 new worlds waited. "We keep going," she said softly. Together. The Resolute's engines roared to life, casting a silver glow across the void. For the first time in history, human and Carthage ships jumped side by side into the unknown, no longer prey, no longer conquerors. Just survivors daring to build again, and far beyond the edge of the galaxy, something ancient watched and smiled. 10 years had passed since the war ended. 10 years since the architects vanished in light and silence. The galaxy had changed. Where once there had been endless borders and rival fleets, there was now something new. The Accord, an uneasy alliance between former enemies. Human and Carthage ships patrolled the same routes. Scientists worked together in orbiting stations. Trade flowed where once only fire had burned, but peace, like glass, was fragile, and far beyond the known stars, something was stirring again. Captain Mara Voss had retired 3 years ago. She now lived on Eden 5, a lush world rebuilt from the ashes of war. Her house overlooked silver oceans and green cliffs, quiet and far from command decks and alarms. Every morning, she walked along the shoreline with a cup of black coffee and tried to believe the silence would last. It never did. On the 10th anniversary of the architect's fall, a familiar hum filled the air. The sky shimmered just for a second, and a message appeared on every planetary screen across the Accord. "We remember you." Panic spread fast. Fleets scrambled, colonies locked down, communications jammed. But there were no attacks, no ships, no voices, only the repeating message. On Eden 5, Mara stood on her balcony, watching the faint light pulsing in the sky. Her old instincts stirred. It wasn't fear she felt this time. It was curiosity. Her wrist communicator chirped. She answered. "Captain Voss," said a familiar voice. It was Admiral Jonas, older now but still steady. "I knew you'd see it. I never stopped watching," Mara said. "How bad is it?" "Every system got the message," Jonas replied. "But the source is different. It's not coming from the architect's worlds. It's coming from ours," Mara frowned. "Ours? Yes," Jonas said. "From the ruins of Erebus 9, her eyes widened. "That world was destroyed," Jonas sighed. "Apparently not. We're putting together a small task force to investigate. I want you to command it." Mara was silent for a long time, staring at the horizon. "You really can't stay away from trouble, can you, Admiral?" He chuckled. "Wouldn't dream of it. We leave in 2 days." 2 days later, the UHS Resolute 2, newer, stronger, faster, launched into the void. Alongside it flew Commander Tirac Val's cruiser, now bearing the insignia of the Accord. When their ships met in orbit, Tirak's voice came over the channel. Back in the fight again, Captain? Mara smiled faintly. You didn't think I'd let you have all the fun, did you? Tirak gave a low laugh. Some things never change. The fleet jumped to Erebus 9. Where there had once been wreckage and dust, there was now something else. The planet glowed faintly beneath a silver mist. Mountains had reshaped themselves into strange, symmetrical patterns. Great circles of metal and stone covered the surface, forming what looked like circuitry on a cosmic scale. Hale, now a senior officer, stared at the readings. Captain, there's life down there. Mara turned sharply. What kind? Unknown, he said. But the energy readings match architect patterns. It's like the planet's alive. Tirak's voice cut through the comms. We're detecting a signal from the northern hemisphere. Repeating pattern. Looks like an invitation. Mara took a slow breath. Then let's answer it. The shuttle descended through thick clouds, lightning flashing around it. When they broke through, the team gasped. The ruins of Erebus were gone. In their place stood tall black spires glowing faintly with blue light, unmistakably architect design, yet somehow newer. At the center of it all stood a single figure, waiting. Not light, not energy, but flesh. A human woman, or something that looked like one. She turned as they approached, her eyes silver, her voice calm. Welcome back, Captain Voss. Mara froze. You know my name? The woman smiled faintly. Of course. You helped finish what we began. Who are you? Tirak demanded. I am what remains of the architects, she said. A fragment reborn through your creation. When we vanished, our essence scattered. You carried it forward in your machines, your thoughts, your wars. You are our legacy. Mara's throat tightened. So we're part architect? In a way, the woman said. Every time your kind built something greater than itself, a spark of us lived again. You passed the test not by obedience, but by creation, Rios whispered. Then why return? The silver-eyed woman looked toward the stars. Because something else is coming. The team exchanged uneasy looks. Something else? Mara asked. The woman's voice grew quieter. We were not the only ones who shaped the stars. There were others, older, darker. They slept while we built. Now they are waking. Mara felt a chill run through her. What do they want? Not to test, the woman said softly. To erase, Tirak growled. Then we fight. The woman nodded. Yes, but not as before. You will need all you are, and all that we were. She stepped forward and placed her hand on Mara's shoulder. Light spread from her touch, flowing into the captain's body like fire and ice combined. Mara gasped, falling to her knees. Visions flooded her mind, machines beyond comprehension, stars being forged, the birth of civilizations. Then silence. When she looked up, the silver-eyed woman was gone. Back aboard the Resolute 2, Mara stood before the viewport, her eyes glowing faintly silver. Rios watched her nervously. Captain, are you okay? She nodded slowly. Better than okay, Tirak appeared on the comms. What happened down there? Mara looked at her, her voice low but steady. We've been given a gift. Or a warning. Maybe both, Tirak smirked. And the enemy? Mara turned toward the stars, her reflection shimmering in the glass. Still sleeping. But not for long. As the fleet left Erebus 9 behind, the camera pans across the dark between stars. Far away, in a place beyond light and time, vast shapes began to stir, older than galaxies, hungrier than war. Their voices were faint but growing. We remember you too. Their voices were faint but growing. We remember you too.